Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. You know, it's funny that I started doing this, I don't know, probably 2016, 2017, doing a morning report because it was always crazy because things would always happen late in the evening, late in the night, in the middle of the night, and so I wanted everybody to have, the latest news first thing in the morning. And I don't think there was too many people that were doing stuff at that time. Now, a lot of people are doing things first thing in the morning because, they realize that the Dallas Cowboys, they never sleep. There's always something happening. It used to be, Zeke Elliott was getting in trouble. You'd hear about him in Vegas late at night where he, kind of gave a forearm shiver to a guy who basically faked his way out of it and stuff. It was the TMZ report on the Dallas Cowboys or Tyrone Crawford. It was always something that was going on. That's kind of died out. And now, of course, we're dealing with free agency and building the roster. It's been a roller coaster ride, mostly roller coastering straight down so far in free agency, and it's so many different things that have happened. It's hard to actually keep track. To think that, we had the Amari Cooper situation and then the Randy Gregory situation, which has been kind of multiple days of it keep coming back and so on. We've had Jaron Curse, who now has Cowboy stuff on his Instagram again, thank goodness, after he was lowballed by the Cowboys. And it's just been a crazy, crazy time. The thing that is interesting is, we're on the outside looking in. We're on the outside looking in. We don't know if there's actually a plan here. But the thing I can tell you about is Stephen Jones is not going to lie to you. He's going to tell you the truth. I said this when it was in question whether or not Dez Bryant was going to be with the team. The talking heads said, oh, he's coming back. And I was like, no, look at Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones, you could tell by his mannerism and the way he talked that Dez Bryant was not going to be with the Cowboys. And he cut him. And he had the same tone about Amari Cooper. I don't know what happened, but it definitely seemed like it was more personal than anything else. Amari Cooper may be in a great situation now with Deshaun Watson, having Jarvis Landry and being the Cleveland Browns. We'll see on that one. But Stephen Jones has said a couple of times this offseason, that you don't build a roster through free agents. You overpay for guys, There aren't that many talented guys. In fact, here's one of the quotes exactly from him. We are not ever going to be a big splash free agency team, Jones said. We don't think that's a sound strategy unless there's a Reggie White or a Dion. There are not many of them. It's not that we don't want to spend money, not if it's a Pro Bowl caliber player. We just think we aren't seeing Pro Bowl caliber players out there. We're going to do the best job we can to get players in free agency, but we think there's value and efficiency in what we're trying to accomplish. Yeah. So he's saying, we're not going to make a big splash. We're going to be cheap. We're going to look for value. And we're going to see what's out there. There aren't Pro Bowl caliber players out there. Bobby Wagner? I believe he's got like 8 Pro Bowls to him, coming off 170 tackles. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But Stephen Jones is a man who's definitely, he means what he says and he says what he means. And when he takes over for the Dallas Cowboys, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. And I dare say, I don't think Stephen Jones at the helm, who is risk averse, is going to be the guy that's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. I just don't. And if you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, you have to come to that conclusion. If we get it, then it's icing on the cake. But you can't expect the Dallas Cowboys with this mentality to win a Super Bowl. But then again, maybe we're all wrong. Somebody who doesn't seem to be worried, though, seems to be Dak Prescott. Dak, who was at a charity event, got $20,000 for his charity. Finish fight. God, I'm having brain farts this morning. Faith finish fight. A reopening of a restaurant that had been closed since the pandemic and things. He was there with his shoulder. Had said after a month after having shoulder surgery that his shoulder is good to go. He can do everything with it. No worries on that. He's had extra time for him to recover from the season, as well as from a little more time for that ankle to heal, and he's expecting great things. Here's what Dak actually was quoted as saying yesterday. Things are not done. Free agency isn't done. The draft is not done. A lot of roster is still to come. I handle the things that I can control. Key. Now, Dak was asked if he should have more input on the team. And you think a guy who's averaging $40 million a year, that is the key linchpin, should definitely have some say in what's going on. If Dak is upset by the moves the Cowboys are making, he sure is not voicing it at any stretch of the imagination. He does not seem upset about losing Amari Cooper. In fact, he's gone on about CeeDee Lamb and the how he looks forward to CeeDee Lamb being the number one. We may never fully know what happened in the locker room. Locker room is a sacred place with Dak, with Amari, with the outlook. Who was really the one that wanted Amari Cooper to go? How it went down? If this was Jerry Jones and Amari, or if this was Dak and Amari. But I think in some regards, I think Dak is looking for somebody with more fight, more kick, more dog in them to play. Now, I know everybody will go through and say, well, Amari Cooper, before Amari Cooper, Dak wasn't, let's slow down here a little bit here. Let's slow down here a little bit. With Amari Cooper, when Amari Cooper came, clearly he was the best weapon we had. Because you got to understand, we had a rookie Michael Gallup, his first couple of games wet behind the ears. We had Measly Beasley, right? Cole Beasley was the best receiver we had. We had Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin, and both, I believe, rookies. And can't remember the other tight end we had, but it wasn't a big name. It wasn't like we had Jason Witten and Dez Bryant, and Amari came in and taught Dak how to throw. In fact, you could almost say, looking at Amari Cooper, how pathetic he was that last year, that half a season in with the Raiders, that he looked like he had checked out. In fact, most people, analysts out there said, damn, the Cowboys got hosed in that trade. So before we go through and say that Dak can't be successful without Amari Cooper, understand when a guy like Randall Cobb came here, who was only averaging about 10 yards per completion with the baddest man on the planet, as some people would say, the four-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers, thrown to him. Somehow, with Dak Prescott and being with the Cowboys, he averaged over 14 yards a completion, I believe the highest in his career. He then proceeded to get a big contract to go with the Texans, where he was the focal point, and his numbers dropped off again. He even went back to Green Bay, and his numbers still dropped. So it may be that Dak, the guy that some of you will say is a garbage-ass quarterback, but now holds the Dallas Cowboys single-season touchdown passes record with 37. a guy who's on pace to literally beat every record the Dallas Cowboys have within 3 years, that maybe Dak helped make Amari as well. I know haters won't agree with that. We'll wait and see how that goes. But here's the thing with getting back to free agency. With the moves that have been made, Matt Ryan's in the twilight of his career. I don't think Matt Ryan's a great quarterback any longer, but he's still a lot better than, say, Carson Wentz. And I will dare say the Colts believe in him a whole lot more than Carson Wentz. You look at the exodus of talent from the NFC to the AFC. Russell Wilson going from Seattle, to Denver, of course. Matty Ice going from Atlanta to, of course, the Colts. Devontae Adams going from Green Bay to, the Raiders. Von Miller going from the Rams to the Bills. You have to almost look at the NFC kind of stepping back to the AFC. I wouldn't want to be an AFC team, especially the AFC West right now. Seems like they've got the majority, the lion's share of all the really good quarterbacks. And looks like a lot of great talent over there as well. Last year seemed to be the NFC year of having a lot of great teams, and the AFC was the redheaded stepchild. It may be the other way around. And this is where your mentality needs to be that, okay, Tom Brady is still there. Aaron Rodgers is there, but Aaron Rodgers has been handicapped now by losing Devontae Adams. Seattle clearly is not going to be the one. We've got questions now with Jimmy Garoppolo. The Colts really wanted Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's concern about his shoulder surgery. And we don't know if they're going to hold on to Jimmy Garoppolo if San Francisco is going to take a step back. The Rams could have the Super Bowl hangover. So as you start looking at the landscape of the NFC, you got to say that this is going to be kind of a down year. New Orleans just re-signed Jameis Winston. You got Marcus Mariota going to Atlanta. You got Sam Darnold with Carolina. You got Carson Wentz for Washington and Daniel Jones for the Giants. And you got Hurts for the Eagles. You need to look at this and say, this is an opportunity that maybe a couple of really good players can help put us over the top. And that's where Bobby Wagner, of course, to me, if you listen to Stephen Jones, he says, it's not that we don't want to spend money. We just don't see players of the ilk of a Dion or a Reggie White. But isn't kind of Bobby Wagner that kind of guy? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see if anything comes of that. I still believe there's something in the works there for this situation and Bobby Wagner to be the player that he is, to be here watching all of this money flowing off of the salary cap where, some teams had $60, $70 million to spend. Now we're down into the 30s and getting smaller by the minute. It's kind of strange that Bobby Wagner hasn't been trying to take advantage of that. But let's go ahead and look a little bit more into the crazy trade for Matt Ryan. How bad must Carson Wentz have been for the Colts to just say, you know what, we'll eat the $15 million. You know what, we'll, be okay losing the draft picks. Let's just get rid of that guy, and we will go for Matt Ryan, a guy who's over the hill.
Season has been going. The Falcons are shipping Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round draft pick. The former MVP started all but 3 games for the Falcons over the last 14 seasons, but he will be the 5th different Week 1 starter Indianapolis has had in Frank Reich's 5 years as their head coach. Ryan, in his first 10 seasons in the league, won 60% of his games and made the playoffs 6 times, including 1 Super Bowl appearance. But the last 4 seasons haven't produced a ton of winning. Might not be all on Ryan, who slightly improved on his pass yards per game and touchdown to interception ratio over those last few years, but obviously overall did not go well in Atlanta recently. So Diana, you were part of the crew that broke the story for us yesterday. Take us through how this deal got done.
Yeah, it took a lot of muscle to break that story.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It goes back to last Sunday when the Atlanta Falcons called Matt Ryan and said, we are in on Deshaun Watson. We're to go after him. We appreciate what you've done for us, but this is the move for us for the future. And Matt Ryan was in for it. He understood what Atlanta needed to do, and he understood that that probably meant he was going to get traded, and Indy was one of those teams that he wanted to go to. So fast forward Wednesday, the Falcons go meet with Deshaun. The next day, Deshaun decides he's going to the Cleveland Browns. Atlanta's out in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So now what? Matt Ryan stays, right? No. Well, they both sides decided this is probably not going to work moving forward now. So Indy this past Sunday called Atlanta, and the talk started to really heat up overnight. Monday, it all came together, and there was some thought, and this was really interesting, right up to the final hour when Indy and Atlanta agreed to the terms of this, there was a thought that perhaps Matt Ryan would get cold feet in this, and he would decide, you know what, I don't want to get traded. I want to finish my career in Atlanta. But in the end, he decided that Indy has the best roster for him to win.
Yeah, and it should be a lot better than what he's been dealing with in Atlanta. Atlanta's going to have to deal with a $40+ million dead cap hit, but they're in the rebuild. The Colts have Matt Ryan, and this is another guy who's going from the NFC to the AFC. Yeah. Bart, the AFC is stacked. Where do you put
really
the Colts?
is stacked.
I put them right there in the mix, right? Because if we want to give credit to the Tennessee Titans last year and say that they were a legitimate threat, which they were before King Henry got hurt, we have to say that, the Colts offer the same similar type of roster. With the emergence of Taylor, you think about Pittman. I think they have to go out there and let's see if he can court a guy like Julio Jones, because they need somebody opposite of Pittman that can be a viable threat. But you talk about a great offensive line. You talk about the ability to strength the game and limit the possessions of a game. You talk about being able to control the clock. I think they have everything. I think they move ahead the Tennessee Titans, because at this point, if you ask me to pick between Ryan Tannehill and you ask me to pick between Matty Ice, I'm going to go with Matty Ice, whose completion percentage has really improved and still is an elite player. He's only 37 years old. We talk about Aaron Rodgers at 37 years old like he's, Benjamin Button, and I think we talk about Matt Ryan like he's like the old man in the building. He's not.
He's not. So a couple of years ago, it's Phillip Rivers. Last year, they go with Carson Wentz. Colts are doing this every offseason. Is Ryan what they need?
He's more of what they need than what they had. Like, we'll put it that way.
But
here's what
is it
I would say. I think
that
that Bart has assessed kind of what their plan is for winning. And I think you can easily make the argument that if you were to look at the roster in comparison to the Titans, who were the 1 seed last year, you actually would probably like it better. When the composite of both sides of the ball, the offensive line, the run game, like you maybe favor Derrick Henry. At the same time, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best backs in the league. So you want a quarterback that can play kind of in that environment of shrinking the game, not making the critical error. And I think when you look at Matt Ryan, having the experience playing in big games and not having a history of kind of stubbing your toe in the most critical moment, that fits the bill much more than what they had. In many senses, it fits the bill better than a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that this is probably more akin to what they had in Phillip Rivers, which they were very happy with. And so I think that's how this Matt Ryan thing works out.
Yeah, they would have kept Rivers last year, but he decided to retire on them. Bart was talking about should they sign a free agent wide receiver. There's a free agent wide receiver that actually was tweeting about liking this trade last night. Odell Beckham Jr., this was overnight. Random thought, but he really thinks that
he's
Matt
definitely
Ryan, the Colts is
looking for a home.
So I don't know whether that's a
thirst trap right there.
Right?
Thirst trap.
You might as well just put a picture of him doing a workout. That's a wink, Chris Ballard.
Yeah, that's definitely. He's trying to get a home. Odell is trying to get a home. So for me, I look at this and say, this is cool for us that all of these teams are getting NFC talent and watering down the field. I look at this as an opportunity. So we'll see what happens. Dak Prescott says they're not done. Stephen Jones, maybe a hint of maybe hope, a glimmer of hope. I think that there's a couple reasons why for Bobby Wagner coming to Dallas could be a good reason. When I look at Bart Scott, who, of course, was with the Jets, and him doing ESPN and everything else, that for Bobby Wagner to be able to come to Dallas and raise that profile right there can be a launching pad to a broadcasting career if he so wants to be into that field. But anyway, we've got work to do, good people. We got a lot of stuff to do in the workshop, and we've, of course, got to keep up with everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to say thank you all so much for being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Oh, one other thing, too. I'm going to be setting up a GoFundMe account today. What we're going to do is between now and next Saturday, okay, the following Saturday, Dak Prescott will be here for an autograph signing. I am going to do a piece of artwork, which is the logo for his charity, Faith, Fight, and Finish, for that. And what we're going to do is anybody who does a donation to this GoFundMe site, we're going to take all the proceeds from this. We're going to end up doing a check, and we're going to present it to Dak for his charity. What we will do is I will take this plaque that I'm going to make up in my workshop, and we will get it autographed by Dak, and everybody who ends up donating it will be put into a drawing for it. So this will be doing a good cause. I think this would be actually kind of cool that we can say, here, Dak, we are donating X amount of dollars to your charity from great fans that support you and believe in you. So I'll have more details in the community tab about that. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Time to get out of here.
Our Colts here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, have fun!